maar ons kom van ver. Om te staan in die lug, fyne suiderster. Die saal is gepak, die atmosfeer laai. Ons wag vir die oomblik, laat die musiek nou waai. Mense van heinde oor die vlaktes en berg, vir 'n man wat sy siel in elke noot verberg. Om hom te hoor sing, om hom hier te sien, dis die tipe respek wat 'n legende verdien. Van die sippies se storie groot verhoog, het jy ons laat lach, laat huil en laat glo. Agter elke man tot die diepste treurkront, dis jou voetspore vas op hierdie grond. Stuur jy sy stem, die man van die dag, 'n rots in die storm, 'n vriend en 'n maat vir die taal, vir die volk, staan jy onbevrees. Waar ander bly stil bly, sal jy die een wees. O, Steven, jou woorde vind ons krag, 'n legende wat skyn in die donkerste nag. Steve, hoor vir my, hulle gooi dalk die klippe, die woorde is vuil, omdat jy die waarheid onbeskaamd vertel. 'n letterkundige gees met 'n pen in die hand, jy skryf vir die siel van ons dierbare land. Beginsel vas teen die stroom en bly staan, van die dae van Bruce tot in 7de laan. Dekades se passie, dekades se vuur, jy gee alles vir ons, uur na uur. Ja, van sippies se storie groot verhoog, het jy ons laat lach, laat huil en laat glo. Agter elke man tot die diepste treurkront, is jou voetspore vas op hierdie grond. Stuur jy sy stem, die man van die dag, 'n rots in die storm, 'n vriend en 'n maat vir die taal, vir die volk, staan jy onbevrees. Waar ander bly stil bly, sal jy die een wees. O, Steven, jou woorde vind ons krag, 'n legende wat skyn in die donkerste nag. Laat die wêreld maar raas, laat die kritiese praat, al ken jy die hart van 'n man van sy staat. Hy's meer as akteur, hy's meer as gesang, hy's die stem van 'n volk wat na vryheid verlang. Steve, jy's die stem, die man van die dag, 'n rots in die storm, 'n vriend en 'n maat vir die taal, vir die volk, staan jy onbevrees. Waar ander bly stil bly, sal jy die een wees. O, Steven, jou woorde vind ons krag, 'n legende wat skyn in die donkerste nag. Steve Hofmeyer, die legende, in woord en daad vir ons.
Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming, it's cool, I'm done with you, so they hating you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back in the studio once again here in central Pennsylvania. Let me do a sound check. Again here in central Pennsylvania. Okay, sounds good. So let me start my morning broadcast off for the news today by stating something. So I'm going to have to reevaluate my cooperation with people in the media. once again been stabbed in the back by media who pimp and use me for access to people and then steal content and also promote people who are actually profiting off of this refugee situation, people who've gone out of their way to enrich themselves, and they promote those people while using my information to tell their stories and don't give credit. So I'm going to have to reconsider my cooperation with media from now on. If you bastards want to keep playing dirty games, then you'll have to consider going elsewhere for your information. Interesting to see that that people who are profiting from this refugee situation are the ones being promoted and given credit for things that they're not doing. It's really frustrating, to say the very least. I've about had my fill of it. You know, people have complained that Rian van Heerden is a leftist. He may be a leftist, but I must say that Rian van Heerden treated our situation better and more fairly than anyone else I've dealt with in the media, bar none, bar none. How do you profit? Well, you get people to relocate to your place so they can use your facilities and you can rent places to them. That's how people profit. It's very easy to profit off this situation, Jeannie. One reason why I refused to form a non-government organization. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not just the media you can't trust there, Ian. There's other people you can't trust. So, yeah, I'm going to have to reevaluate that. The next time someone asks me for access to something, how do you also profit? Well, you ask to do an interview, and because a refugee is nervous and is afraid that their personal information will be shared, I offer to host a Zoom session which eats an hour and a half of my life away for something that I have no interest in and I'm not part of, which is fine. But as a courtesy, as a good human being, I do that to protect the refugees' interest and their equities, and then people take the video, which was supposed to be used for notes, and then put it up on their platforms and cover my face up in a video that they never told me was for that purpose. That's how people profit. It's another way people profit. There's lots of ways people profit from this. Yeah, people profit by becoming famous. People profit from charging rent. People profit from getting people to relocate. People profit from, anyway, there's lots of ways. Oh no, CNN's just one of these outlets. There's another one now. An article came out today. I wasted an hour of my life on Saturday evening. So once again, I found a situation in which, for some strange reason, people, or I don't know why people are getting help from me, aren't directing my name to these media outlets. But I'm not sure how I became involved in the Belofteland thing, but I'm grateful that I was involved in that. But Faraya was involved in that. And also this little turd, Peter Creel, is involved in it. How people like that get involved, I don't know. But again, I think that the treatment in Belofteland, episode 5, of the hour that I was interviewed and what it was trimmed down to, which is what happens in an interview, 4 minutes, was very powerful, very fair, and very objective. They did make a few mistakes. I was never the defense attaché in South Africa or Lesotho. I never claimed that. They misunderstood something. I've never claimed that. But other than that, you know, most people wouldn't know. But so I have no issues with my appearance there. And I have no issues with John Elligan from the New York Times. John Elligan was straightforward. I hosted a session for him and Thea, and she was treated very fairly in his report on that months ago. So that's another one. Also, I have no issue with Ted Hessen from Reuters. Ted Hessen was very fair in the things, but there has been a trend lately of people seeking fame and attention for their own content and using my analysis and my predictions and then putting in their stories and not giving credit. And then they're promoting people who are actually profiting from this thing when it's really really disturbing. Yeah, anyway. All right, so at some point, I'm just, maybe I'm just going to have enough of this. Maybe I won't make a trip to Las Vegas. Maybe I won't make a trip to Florida. Maybe I'm done with taking trips to see refugees. Maybe I'm just done with the refugee thing. And maybe we'll end it all right here. No more Café Clutch. No more helping people. No more answering emails. People can just piss off. I mean, if that's how it's going to be. After having a great trip to Texas and meeting wonderful South Africans, this morning really put a sour taste in my mouth. And it's been going on for a while, but it's incredibly frustrating. Just very frustrating. It's disturbing. Work people, normally you cannot ask a question. What's your question? As long as it's not refugee related, I'll answer it. What's your question, work people? No, I'm just tired of being used by people, and then they're stealing my ideas and content. You know, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Texas was special, and it was a wonderful experience. Meeting those South Africans, see them work together was wonderful. But on top of the abysmal treatment that I've seen from people in the media, I've watched a marked decline in my viewership while I was in Texas. Thank you, Mad Max. Yeah, marked decline in viewership. So obviously people don't care about that trip. Yes, the world's full of users and abusers, but I have a life. I need to ask for it. It must be a refugee question where people, yes, it's a refugee question. You don't know by now not to ask refugee questions when I do the news? That's interesting. Just let me check something real quick. Sorry. Okay, I write to Ronaldo to find out if he's going to be on. All right. Now, Marie says it was the only good episode. Hey, Ronell, how's it going? All right, let's get going here. Yeah, South Africa is full of betrayers and betrayers, but these are people in the press here in South Africa and in America. Can't say that person's giving up all your time to help inform us about any of the bullshit. Well, that's true, I have. And my reward for that is obscurity while people spread lies and I spread the truth. So the truth is covered up. That's my reward. It's a bit frustrating. Anyway, it kind of ruined my morning. I woke up in a good attitude after, the great trip to Texas, even though American Airlines, as usual, failed to get me home on time. That's a worthless airline. American Turd Lines, once again, failed to get people where they're supposed to be on time. Thank you for your membership, Sean. 1 year old. Well, congratulations. Started walking at 1 year. Is that slow or fast? I don't remember. It's been a while since I was a kid. I don't have any kids running around the house. Don't know if that's slow or fast, 1 year. I know I was walking just a few months after I was born. Some people are like, wow, it's pretty cool. How many of these damn stickers are on this ball? I'm trying to take some stickers off the ball here. Good Lord. I found like 5 stickers on here so far. Everything on the sun. I guess these are safety things I have to put on there so kids don't swallow these balls, although I don't know how you swallow something like this. Got myself a FIFA World Cup mini ball. I got a couple of these from soccer, from games I went to from Major League Soccer. I'm not really a big fan of soccer, but God bless it, I like sporting events. So if there's nothing else going on, I'll go to soccer when I go somewhere. So here's the 2026 FIFA World Cup ball, mini ball. Picked that up at the airport. That way I don't have to order online and pay extra money for tariffs. Anyway. It's normal? Okay, thank you. 1 year is normal. Okay, there you go. So there's that mini ball. Anyway, all right. So that's my opening monologue, which is kind of convoluted and all over the place. Sorry for that, but I'm just a little frustrated by users. Lots of users out there. It's happened twice in the past week, and so it's really irritated me. Watching Winter Olympics. I have been watching Winter Olympics, but I did not get to see the USA shellac Canada 5-0. Wow. Did not get a chance to watch them shellac Canada. They really put it to them. Debbie, truth always wins in the end, Colonel. Wouldn't listen to anyone else. Yeah, it's true. But meanwhile, other people who are actually making money, profiting off people, and not necessarily making their lives better, are getting attention, being pimped up as great humanitarians and great saviors of the South African refugee community. It beggars the imagination. You know, when I hear that someone's been doing this for longer than anyone else, helping refugees since 2018, well, that's a lie. There were no South African refugees in 2018. Not a single one. Didn't exist until February 7th of 2025. And within 2 hours, the only people that beat me to the punch was the South African Chamber of Commerce by posting it on their website. That's it. But they posted something up, and they didn't really beat me. I was the first person to broadcast and cover this story from February 7th, from around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 2 hours after Trump announced the refugee program. And I've been consistently covering it ever since. So for someone to say that someone's been at this longer, no one has been at this longer than I have. No one has put the hours that I put into this. No one has gone to the places and spent the tens of thousands of dollars that I've spent to do these things. No one has given people fair hearing, a fair audience about this. No one. No one has consistently told the truth about this program since the very beginning. Others have come along, but no one has been doing it as long as me. But that doesn't make me make a special, better, or right because I'm doing it longer. But I'm correcting the record for the liars out there claiming that others have been doing it longer. It's poppycock. No one has. No one has. No one has. Yeah. And I've refused money. I've refused sponsorship from advertisers. I've refused to take other jobs. I've refused to run rental places for people or to set up an NGO so that I can remain objective about this program, balanced and fair. Once I start running an NGO, once I start doing this, that, and the other, then I'm no longer objective. And then I have a profit mode involved. I don't have a profit mode involved here. Others do. Anti-Erect TV. You were referencing the article that set me off this morning. You were referencing the article that set me off. First off, I had to find out about that article from South Africa, not from the journalist who I gave an hour of my life to on a Saturday evening when I was at my meet and greet. At my meet and greet. Waste of my damn time. Waste of my time. I haven't had a bad day, Sue Marie. It just pissed me off this morning. It's morning here, almost noon. Thank you, Carlos. It's true. Shirley Steger, welcome to you. When my husband's unemployed, a white business owner, he would help him open his own business. All lies because he used him for cheap labor. Yeah. Well, I know it's not a question of acknowledgement. It's a question of stealing one's original content, original ideas, original analysis. This has been happening for the better part of a year. When people actually do report the truth, it's usually something that I've told them in an interview, and they don't give credit for it. That's the problem. And then I get these idiots come along and say after that, well, you're just reporting what someone else did. No, that was my original intellectual content that was stolen by someone in the media. That's why. Why does it bother me so much, Stratcat? Are you not listening to what I just said? It's not a question of what others say. You're not listening. You're hearing what you want to hear. I'm not complaining about what other people say about me. I'm complaining about people using my intellectual content and giving credit to themselves or to others and promoting people who are profiting from this. That's what I said. I didn't say I'm complaining. People will always say stupid things. It's not about that. Why do I care? I care because it's dishonest, and dishonest people shouldn't be promoted. Yeah. Right? See, right here, you're not even listening, Stratcott. Just listen to what I said. Stop hearing what you want to hear. Anyway, it's my decision. It's my choice. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to help anybody. Simple as that. All right, so Ronaldo will be up on time. All right, let me go ahead and take care of something before we get into the news here. I'm going to do the news in just a moment here, so hang on. Got to take care of one admin thing here. I'm also just tired of so much of this stuff. Sometimes it seems like it's never getting better. People can read and do what they want to do. That's their prerogative. All right. Well, South Africa's biggest airline is being sold off. Yep. Being sold off to a black economic empowerment group. Yes. South Africa's racist policy is now undermining the aviation industry even further. South African private equity firm Harith General Partners plans to acquire budget carrier FlySafair as the $3 billion asset manager expands its transport portfolio. Asset manager. So not a company. A financial company. An asset manager. Not an experienced aviation company. Private equity firm for South Africa is planning to acquire the budget airline FlySafair to expand its transport. Hey, Yell Tapper, thank you for the 750 Rand. Well, name it. You pick a major media outlet, they've done it. The acquisition is under review. Transaction could help South Africa FlySafair resolve mounting regulatory pressure over South Africa's ownership requirements. In 2024, Domestic Air Services Council ruled the airline was in breach of local laws because trust in corporate entities rather than individuals hold 75% of its voting rights. The deal will account for 15% of overall portfolio, will be financed through a combination of equity and debt. FlySafair, which controls more than 60% of South Africa's domestic seat capacity, was given a year to comply with ownership rules or risk having its operating license revoked. Dublin-based ASL Aviation Holdings owned the London private equity firm Star Capital Partners, partly controls South African Airways or Safair through the parent company FlySafair. Yep. It has built a strong reputation for operational performance, carrying 30,000 passengers daily with a fleet of 34 aircraft. It's the only African airline featured in most on-time airlines rankings. And now it's being sold. Who's it being sold to? Is it being sold because they're going to bring something into the mix? Are they going to make it better? Or are they going to make FlySafair more efficient? They're going to expand its network? No. It's being sold to a private equity firm because of racist laws in South Africa. Here is the board of directors from Harith. Sipho Makubela, Shepo Maholele, Lungile Zizele Chele, Dolika Banda, Patrick Mukokola, Arthur Moloto, Tony Kolubis. Hey, there's a white guy, token white guy, and Vincent Ragu. There is your board for this firm. Executive committee. Mr. Emile Dutoy, the token whitey. Ah, but the people who put money into the team got a few more whiteys here. Chief investment officer. Yeah. Zola Tamanga was. So Zola must be 15 years old. This is Harith. That's who runs the company. Yep, there you go. Bonnie Duplessis, thank you for 35 cents. 35 cents, 35 Rand. Sorry, 35 Rand. That's a big thing. Yes, sounds like a Greek person. So that's what's happening. FlySafair, the one thing that works in South Africa, is now being sold to a BEE firm. Yep, a BEE firm. Well, so much for flying around South Africa. We'll see how that goes. Another successful company will bite the dust here. And if it doesn't bite the dust, it's enriching people who did nothing to deserve the enrichment. Simply given it because they're black. Well, more uncertainty in South Africa as Volkswagen, a longtime investor in South Africa, the Kariga plant in the Eastern Cape, is in jeopardy. Thousands of jobs at Volkswagen's Kariga plant in the Eastern Cape are hanging in the balance due to significant delays in government policy decisions, raising concerns about the future of one of South Africa's paramount automotive exporters. The plant, recognized as the world's largest exporter of Volkswagen Polo, is a lifeline for over 3,500 direct employees, while thousands more rely on affiliated suppliers, logistics, and related industries for their livelihoods. Well, Guinness has already pulled out. We've seen Cartier pull out. We're seeing other companies pull out. General Motors pulled out when it had to go through its shakedown a few years ago. And now we're seeing Chinese flood in. But jobs are disappearing for South Africans. 3,500 jobs, but how many thousands more are the ancillary businesses, and how many Chicken Lickens, and how many KFCs, and how many shopping centers, and how many malls, and how many apartment houses, how many houses, mortgages, bonds, how much of that is tied to this employment of 3,500 individuals? Quite a few, actually. It's a big ecosystem, and it will be devastating to the Eastern Cape to lose this. Well, they're not the only ones being devastated in South Africa. South Africa's cattle farmers, their ranchers, are under assault because of the negligence, the ineptitude, the incompetence of the Ministry of Agriculture dating back to the time it was controlled by the ANC. Now that it's controlled by an ANC mini-cater, John Steenhuisen, the Ministry of Agriculture has done nothing to improve the lot of these people and has neglected, ignored, and disregarded the threats from foot and mouth disease for nigh on several years. Certainly for the entire tenure that John Steenhuisen has been the Minister of Agriculture. And now we have 17,833 farms where foot and mouth disease has broken out in KwaZulu-Natal province alone. This negligence is epic. Conspiracy theorists now believe that the reason that this is happening is they want all the farmers to lose all their cattle and collapse so that they can just expropriate the land. Well, I think that's a bit of a conspiracy theory stretch. I think it has a lot more to do with incompetence and elite arrogance than anything else. The prevalence of foot and mouth disease in KZN has risen sharply, affecting 70-90% of herds, and desperate farmers say they're witnessing their herds perish, their incomes dry up, and their way of life disintegrate before their eyes. Last week, provincial veterinary surveillance confirmed positive cases on 17,833 farms. Farmers are powerless, watching animals die while their businesses grind to a halt, especially small-scale farmers. It's insane. I've been able to sell my cattle for over a year. You can imagine someone that survives through that. It's very hard. On the other hand, livestock are dying, says Sipo Makize, a small-scale farmer from Normandie. Of course, Normandie is famous. That's where Glenn and Vita Rafferty were butchered there a few years ago in a farm attack. How long should we wait before vaccinating them again? Is it safe forever? No, it's not. To someone, these might be silly questions, but us farmers and rural areas, they're not. How is it that the farmers don't know how often cattle are supposed to be? See, this is a problem with subsistence farming and with small-scale farmers. You don't even know the scientific standards. You don't even know how often your cattle are supposed to be vaccinated against this terrible disease. How do you not know that? Do you just walk around with a stick and push your cows from one pasture to the other? That's your farming? That's what 12-year-old boys do. Wow. Well, Africa's largest defense firm is selling armored personnel carriers to Ukraine. South Africa is neutral in this conflict. Remember, we don't take sides. We're not on Russia's side. We're not on Ukraine's side. But we send mercenaries to fight with the Russians, and now we're sending armored personnel carriers to support the Ukrainians. Yeah, talk about profiting off of things. South Africa-based defense firm and aerospace manufacturer, the Paramount Group, is seeking to establish a presence in Ukraine's rapidly expanding armored vehicle market, signaling Africa's growing role in defense. Paramount Group is South Africa's defense and aerospace manufacturing extended its operations to Ukraine's armored vehicle market. The company uses the OWL vehicle adapted for Ukraine with enhanced protection features to address modern combat challenges. The Midrand-based defense manufacturer, founded by South African entrepreneur Ivor Ichikowicz, is entering Ukraine's fast-growing military procurement market as the war reshapes defense supply chains. Yep. The Ukrainian configured variant has been designated the OWL Incorporated. This is from the Ombomba family of mine-protected vehicles. Draws on the Kailina M4 produced in India under license from Bharat Forge. According to Alexandra Dubia, director of Mac Hub, the OWL is the second largest model in the company's lineup, developed over an 18-month engineering cycle in collaboration with Paramount Greece. Well, despite filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the United States in 2024 after a prolonged business dispute listing assets at $500 to $1 billion, $500 million, against liabilities $100 million to $500 million, the privately owned defense and aerospace manufacturer continues to seek international contracts. So, Paramount selling weapons in Ukraine. But South Africa is neutral. Of course, they'll say this is a private corporation, but, we all know how that works. South Africa. Robert Sobukwe's family is angry at the backlash over the cultural assassination, cultural genocide of the white minority of South Africa. They're upset because people are complaining about the renaming of Graf Reinet to Robert Sobukwe. There's nothing wrong with honoring Robert Sobukwe, but a statue would be much more appropriate, and a recognition for what he actually did during the anti-apartheid era, rather than the ANC trying to whitewash him out of history, and now for political purposes to demonize, to ostracize, to eliminate European-based African culture. They renamed this town. There is no smart city, Marissa. Anger and pride have collided in the crew as Graffernet officially becomes Robert Sobukwe Town, with the grandson of the legendary anti-apartheid activist admitting the moment is as painful as it is powerful. I do appreciate they at least gave my grandfather's legacy an opportunity to live on and for more people to know about him. The change in the town's name, which was founded in 1786, was formally gazetted by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture after approval by Minister Gate McKenzie. Part of 21 geographical name changes across the country. For the Sobukwe family, the decision is personal and painful in equal measure. The backlash was expected. It's a small town that carries a lot of apartheid legacies. Oh my gosh. Really? So if it carries apartheid legacies, then why do you want to rename it after him? There was no settlement there in 1786. It was founded by the descendants of white Europeans. So stealing their culture, found your own town. Found your own town. And don't treat Robert Sobukwe poorly. Build a monument. Instead of, calling it Nelson Mandela Bay University or Nelson Mandela University, why didn't they call it Robert Sobukwe University? U.S. backs major rare earths project in Mozambique, one of the Southeastern Africa's largest. But what exactly does that mean, backs it? There's no mention of any investment, no mention of any contribution or equity by the United States. They've confirmed their support. What does the support mean? Yay, have a rare earth element mine. We're with you. Strange. Very strange. The United States confirmed support for Mozambique's Monte Mobe rare earth project, signaling efforts to diversify its supply chain and reduce reliance on China. As part of a broader strategy to boost alternative sources of rare earth, China currently dominates 70% of the global earth production. That's down from 90%, by the way, folks, 90% for years. Beyond Mozambique, the U.S. is also supporting rare earth projects in Angola, South Africa, and the DRC to ensure sustainability across access to critical minerals, as the Chinese seek to use critical rare earths to blackmail the planet like they did with Japan 15 years ago. Africa's largest airline racks up $4.5 billion revenue in just 6 months, on target for $10 billion this year, as cargo and passenger volumes climb. Ethiopian Airlines, Africa's largest, most profitable carrier, reported $4.4 billion in revenue. Wow. It's a 14% year-on-year increase, 10.6 million passengers, and 451,000 tons of cargo in a 6-month period. Pretty amazing. There's a cargo hub for Ethiopian Airlines. It's a well-run organization. It's state-owned, but the state stays out of its business. So, congratulations to Ethiopia. It doesn't say how profitable they were on that. It just says that their revenue's up. Senegal launches a $100 million onshore gas and oil plant after revoking licenses from inactive operators. Apparently, people had license and didn't do anything with it, so they revoked them. Petrosen, Senegal's state-owned oil company, is set to launch $100 million onshore oil and gas exploration campaign this year aimed at discovering crude in the country's onshore fields, following recent regulatory changes and revocation of license from operators who've done little to no work. Well, if you snap up license and you don't do anything with it, what do you suppose that happened here? Wow, it's pretty crazy. So that's an offshore rig, not an onshore. So they want to focus on onshore. They're investing at least $100 million to jumpstart exploration. British Petroleum has exited from the marketplace, apparently. BP exited without financial compensation, and Cosmos Energy, a U.S.-based company, increased its stake in the field from 30 to 90%. BP was trying to export gas. Senegal insisted on domestic use for gas to power plant, but do you have money to pay for that, Senegal? That's the problem. You can insist on domestic use, but if your market cannot pay for it, then what are they supposed to do? Give the gas away after spending tens of millions of dollars developing it? Angola is targeting 17 million carats diamond production. They want to become Africa's gemstone kings. Angola's state-owned diamond miner Endeama is aiming to scale production to 17 million carats by 2027, building on a record-breaking performance that strengthened the country's standing global diamond industry. According to government publications circulated last year at the mining job in Cape Town, they produced 14 million carats rough diamonds last year. It's the highest output in history. This year, they're seeking to go to 17 million carats. But diamonds, natural diamonds, are under pressure from synthetic diamonds, which are really got a big stranglehold on the market these days. And that is, I can't see what that says. What did it say? So I'll thank you and subscribe. Why is it so small, the text? Benjamin Netanyahu will meet with Secretary of State Marco Rubio this morning before he heads to the White House. Etienne, thank you for your super chat, but once again, why are you asking questions about refugees during the news broadcast? Have consideration for others. Have consideration for others. I'll address this for the moment. Why is my microphone acting up now? Hang on. But that is very inconsiderate. and we've covered this many, many times, why do people think that it's appropriate to interrupt my news broadcast when I'm doing news analysis to ask questions? Even if you give a super chat, I'm sorry, it's not appropriate. It's unfair. There we go. Finally got it fixed. But I will address it. 140 Rand. Some wait months after being approved, others not. I know people approved and ready for departure waiting months. Some waited revoked visas, no income. No one has a revoked visa and is not, how can you have a revoked visa and then become the United States? If your visa is revoked, you're not coming here. So that case doesn't make any sense. There's no way the case can be fast-tracked. You get called when they call you. I mean, people keep asking this question. I have a friend who flew up there during the first 100. The proof of concept, still in South Africa. Hasn't gone anywhere. Has not been denied. And there's Max reminding people about what not to ask. So please do not be attention-seeking. Super chats don't forgive the rudeness. Thank you, Etienne, for the super chat. Iran says nuclear talks gauge seriousness in the United States. After the talks, we felt there was understanding consensus to continue the diplomatic process. That, to me, means the Iranians are terrified. They're terrified. U.S. and Iranian diplomats held talks through Omani mediators last week in an effort to revive diplomacy after Trump positioned a naval flotilla, a carrier strike group, off the coast. Spokesman said the trip to Oman on Tuesday by Ali Larijani, the advisor around Supreme Leader of the Ayatollah, was pre-planned to follow up on regional consultations, and Larijani would next travel to Qatar. So we'll see what happens, but I don't have any much hope on that. Al Jazeera runs a tearjerker of a story. Hang on, let me cry for this story very quickly. Criminal alien invaders in Germany feel stigmatized because they're undermining the culture of Germany, using German resources taxpayers pay for it. And they feel like they're being ostracized in a country they don't belong in. Well, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. Several men who made dangerous journeys alone tell Al Jazeera they faced suspicion, hatred, and homelessness. Ahmed was 14 when he first arrived in Germany in 2019 from Afghanistan. He had only the clothes on his back and a phone. Why he's in Germany? A member of the Hazara ethnic minority, he fled the Taliban's rule, first reaching Turkey and then Greece in 2018. Why didn't he stay in Turkey? Before making the journey overland to Germany, where he believed he had a better chance at building a stable life given Greece's economic woes. He's in Germany not because he's entitled or it's right for him to be there, but because he felt he had a better chance to make a life there. A 14-year-old went overland to Germany because he felt he had a better chance in Germany. He had safety in Turkey. And by the way, Turkey doesn't border Afghanistan. Several other countries could come between there. How did he get to Turkey from Afghanistan? Why didn't he stay in Turkey? He has no right or business to be in Germany, but we're supposed to cry for him. He's one of 1.2 million people who claimed asylum in Greece between 2015 and 2020. Then why isn't he in Greece? The start of the so-called refugee crisis, some European nations embrace refugees, especially those fleeing war in Syria. Now, as the hard right advances across Europe, casting lone male migrants and asylum seekers as a scourge, they're discriminated against by several sections of society and media. Well, they have no business being there. The 2024 report by the IOM found that 63% of recent arrivals in Europe were single men traveling alone. Now, why is that? Why are single men traveling alone? Because they're coming to undermine these communities and these countries, and they're allowing it. They're allowing it. European Union figures. The Migration Observer at the University of Oxford noted that male refugees often travel alone due to the perils of the journey. The family and children will join them later. Well, first off, they're not refugees. If you travel from Afghanistan to Germany, you're not a refugee. You are a destination shopper. Stop misusing the term. Young people like Ahmed also make up a small but significant portion of applicants. European Union figures show 35,000 asylum applicants were unaccompanied minors. Okay, you can't apply for asylum if you're a minor, so that doesn't make any sense. And you can't form an opinion as a minor as to you being persecuted, which is the basis for asylum. Unbelievable. Ahmed, who's soft-spoken over the phone in his last year of high school in Germany at the taxpayer expense of Germans, hopes to be able to go to university. He wants to suck free on the university, on the teat of Germans instead of going to Afghanistan and fixing his broken country. But he speaks to the stigma he faced as a young male. I experienced discrimination simply for being a young refugee man. Well, you're not a refugee. You're a destination seeker. My housing applications are ignored because of my name. In society, I hear the tired, hurtful refrain that we're taking jobs and houses. Well, you are. You have no business there. You have no business being there at the expense of German taxpayers. And the government should pay for the people and not for us. They tell us we should go back to where we came from. You should. They also say that we're all the same, dangerous. Well, that's not true. Some are dangerous. Sometimes they use irony, saying, don't take your knife out, I'll give you everything you want. Well, that's just rude. That's not necessary. But then we saw over 1,200 German girls sexually assaulted and raped on New Year's Eve by refugees, and the government covered up. Remember that situation? Sylvester Abend groped in Köln and elsewhere. This kind of stuff really hurts because at least I can speak for myself. I'm trying to begin a new life here. Why should you have a new life in Germany? It's not your home. We experienced a lot of horrible things in the wars in our country, and on the way here, not really accepted by society, even though you try your best. This happens simply because your name is Ali or Muhammad. You're seen as a threat. Well, you are a threat. To Germanness. To Germanness, you're a threat. You don't like that? There's no threat to being an Afghan. There's no major community of people flooding in Afghanistan to live there and dilute and diminish the Afghaniness or the Persianness of Iran. But there sure is of the Germanness of Germany. Ahmed's account echoes a broader shift across Europe where hostile portrayals of migrants. So we've gone from asylum to refugee to immigrant to migrant. They throw every term in here and only one of them applies. Criminal alien invader, destination shopper. What do you mean it's shocking, Grok? I covered that when it happened. 1,200 girls. First off, they covered the story. The police refused to report this. They buried the statistics. The Bundeskriminalamt hid the story. Angela Merkel's government hid the story. Yep. Die ehemaligen Kanzlerin. Hostile portrayals of migrants have been drawn upon by far-right figures such as British convicted criminal Tommy Robinson. Oh, Tommy Robinson, convicted criminal. Yeah, he didn't commit a crime. He was railroaded. Who at a September 25th rally in London said women in the UK were under threat because of uncontrolled migration. Well, it's true. It's true. Look at the enslavement of British girls that went on for nigh on 15 years while the police turned a blind eye to it, while young British girls were groomed, pimped, and sold as sex slaves by people from South Asia. And the response of the British government to imprison those who deign to report on it, to ban those who report on it, and to cover the story up. Thousands of young British girls raped, traumatized, impregnated, infected with sexually transmitted diseases, and sold as sex slaves by people of South Asian descent. And rather than simply tell the truth and arrest the reprobates behind it, the government covered this up while thousands of at-risk girls were destroyed. Their lives, not tens, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. It went on for years because the police were afraid of being called racist. There are no sanctions against the ANC, Andre Claassen. A Dutch court is investigating that chip manufacturer. Ooh, Nexperia. The Chinese links. The Dutch court Wednesday ordered a formal investigation of Dutch-based semiconductor chip maker Nexperia and upheld an earlier order suspending its Chinese CEO, citing doubts about the company's policies and conduct. Wow. At a court hearing last month, lawyers for Zhang and Wintech painted him as a successful business trying to guide Nexperia through troubled geopolitical waters. They urged the court not to order an investigation and said Wintech had been blindsided by the Dutch government move. Indications that the director of Nexperia changed the strategy without internal consultation under the threat of upcoming sanctions. The dispute at Nexperia escalated when China temporarily blocked the export of Nexperia chips from its plant in China in October, sending global auto manufacturers scrambling to secure supplies and alternatives. Beijing's export ban was later lifted after President Trump met with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in October. But the supply chain is messed up because the Chinese are using economic policy to cripple Europe and everyone else. Well, the United States is not the only country pushing back against illegal aliens. South Africa does it, and countries around the world do it, including Bulgaria, according to the New York Times story. 7 miles from Sofia, Bulgaria's capital, this former military barracks houses hundreds of migrants. They're not migrants, they're criminal alien invaders. Why must we continue to report this accurately? The smell of Busmanti's special home for foreigners is indescribable. If you had to use words, they would be a combination of stale urine, mildew, dried sweat, and rot. 30 people are packed in each cell with guards lock at 10 p.m. and don't open until 7 a.m. The rooms do not contain toilets, so at night men urinate out the window. There's no running water, so those with flu or food poisoning vomit into plastic bags. Some men hang sheets around their beds at a gesture toward privacy, but in the corner is a camera with its telltale red eye. Occasionally, a few of the men housed in this former military barracks 7 miles from Bulgaria's capital are brought to a small room where officials from Bulgarian police and the European Union Border Police, called Frontex, are waiting. No lawyers are present. The officials tell them that they can leave if they sign an agreement to return to their home countries, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere. If they don't, they'll be locked up for a year and a half. At first, most refuse to sign, but it's hard to hold on to sanity in a Bulgarian cell where you have not committed a crime, so occasionally men sign, and a week or so later, they're gone. You've not committed a crime. You've not committed a crime. I'm sorry. Who's the author? Caitlin Chandler? Of course they've committed a crime. They've illegally entered Bulgaria. That's a crime. You leftist. You've committed a crime. Some, though, decide to hold on for the full 18 months, after which most will be released and allowed to remain in Bulgaria. Many hope they'll be able to move on from there. Hashem, a Syrian with Hunt. Yeah. They come to Bulgaria to go to Germany or the UK. Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. This is an invasion. These are criminal alien invaders. They have no business being there. Hashem, a Syrian with honey brown hair and a shy smile, who arrived last spring, was among 100 or so men who had chosen to wait. Just a few months earlier, he had been living in a town in southern Germany, learning the language and dreaming of returning to his job as a tailor. But when he arrived for an appointment at the local immigration office in Sachsen-Anhalt last February, the police arrested him, detained him for weeks at the Munich airport, then deported him to Sofia. He says, I want to file a lawsuit against the prison here. I'm sorry. Sorry, no empathy. Germany. Apparently a gay referee got attacked. Referee Pascal Kaiser went viral after proposing to his boyfriend during a Bundesliga game. Then the 27-year-old was attacked, though the motive is still unclear. German football referee Pascal Kaiser was attacked over the weekend. His lawyers told local media on Monday. Kaiser was admitted to the hospital due to an assault. He also posted a photo of his bruised face on Instagram. The attack took place in front of Kaiser's Cologne home, with 3 unidentified men attacking him after he'd gone out for a cigarette. Well, motive is unknown. His lawyer says the 27-year-old's address, the bar made his address, and the bar itself denies the accusations. He received many threats since his proposal went viral. On Saturday, he went for a walk and received a message, "We see you and follow you. Just wait until the police are no longer there." 3 men attacked him. This sounds a lot like Juicy Smollett. Is this real? Did it really happen? And why is Deutsche Welle linking it to his proposal to his boyfriend? Do they have any evidence to support that? No. They're just making a claim. No one should be attacked for their sexuality. And no one should fake attacks to get sympathy. Not claiming that Kaiser's faking an attack, but Deutsche Welle linking something that's unrelated is interesting, to say the least. Yeah, did they shout this is MAGA country? Exactly. Did they bring a rope? Did they intend to lynch him? Is that what happened? Please. Russia says it will stick to the START nuclear arms limits as long as the U.S. does the same. Moscow will observe limits to the last nuclear arms pact with the United States that expired last week as long as it sees that Washington is doing the same. The new START treaty expired February 5th, leaving no restrictions on the 2 largest atomic arsenals for the first time in more than half a century, and fueling fears of an unconstrained nuclear arms race. Well, let's hope they stick to it. A lost Soviet lunar lander has it been found. 2 research teams have identified possible landing sites for Luna 9, the first human-made object to safely reach the lunar surface. And one of them is wrong. So one of those sites is clearly not the correct one. Maybe both are. In 1966, a beach ball-sized robot bounced across the moon. Once it rolled to a stop, its 4 petal-like covers open, exposing a camera that sent back the first picture on the surface of another world. Luna 9, the Soviet lander, was the earliest spacecraft to safely touch down the moon. It paved the way toward interplanetary exploration. Its precise whereabouts have remained a mystery ever since. That may soon change. 2 research teams think they may have tracked down the long-lost remains of Luna 9, but they don't agree on location. One of them is wrong. The dueling finds highlight a strange fact of the early moon race. The precise resting place for a number of spacecraft that landed on the moon are lost to obscurity. So there is a replica of Luna 9 there with its petals. And that's the first photograph of the moon's surface from February 1966, that grainy picture on the left. Launched on January 31st, 1966. While a number of spacecraft had crashed in the lunar surface at that stage in the race, it was among the earliest to try out what rocket engineers called a soft landing. Very small. So here's an image of where they believe it might be. And that actually makes sense. It looks like I see 4 petals there. So lots of images here. They're trying to figure out where this thing is at. Mexican cartels flying drones breaching U.S. airspace. Multiple drones operated by cartels in Mexico entered the United States, according to Trump administration, and they closed down airspace. Trump team blames Mexican cartel drones for El Paso airspace closure. Mexican cartel drones breached airspace, the Trump administration said, leading to a sudden closure of airspace over El Paso. The Federal Aviation Administration reopened the airspace around El Paso Airport hours after it announced a 10-day closure for special security reasons. Wow. Cartel drones are being shot down by our military, said Pam Bondi. That's crazy. The FAA says that Federal Aviation Administration says Canada will soon certify the delayed Gulfstream jets they've been playing games with. Transport Canada is expected to announce approvals later this week after years-long delay drew pressure from Trump. After Trump threatened more tariffs, suddenly the Canadians are playing nice. Trying to prevent the Gulfstream from entering the Canadian market to protect its alien bombardier, basically almost state-owned entity at this stage. Certification issue drew national attention last month after President Trump accused Canada of refusing to certify Gulfstream models and threatening sweeping retaliation. Yep. Canada is effectively prohibiting the sale of Gulfstream products in Canada through its very same certification process. Will impose a 50% tariff on all Canadian aircraft sold in the U.S. Yep. Canada had not certified the G500, 600, 700, 800 models. They were certified by the FAA in 2018-2019 for the 500, 600. But Canada refused to certify them. Well, Canada, 9 killed in another mass shooting. Oh, Canadians always looking down the nose at Americans, but they're the ones in the mass shooting. Occurred in Tumbler Ridge, remote community in British Columbia. Suspect died of self-inflicted injury. And Stellantis is taking a $35 billion hit and selling off its Windsor battery plant in Canada after falling for the green energy EV vehicle scams. 3 Republicans are siding with Democrats to restore House ability to overturn the Trump tariffs. Thomas Massie, who is a Ferraya, is speaking outside the House chamber. He should be primaried and removed from office. U.S. economy has added 130,000 jobs. The unemployment rate drops to just 4.3%. As a consequence. And U.S. slips to its lowest ever rank in the Global Corruption Index. Transparency International ranks the United States now 29th out of 182 countries. And what's the basis for Transparency International slipping the United States down? Are there corruption cases? No. Their claim is that the Trump administration has weakened measures to keep track of corruption. So because they have taken away superfluous organizations that track these things, that means we've slipped down the corruption index, although they identify no additional corruption, no new corruption. That leads me to believe that an index that I've trusted for decades from Transparency International is flawed. Full-scale evacuation from Washington and California. People going to Vegas, not just Texas and Florida, but they're flooding Vegas. Wealthy individuals from California and Washington are flocking to Las Vegas Valley to escape tax policies and politics from their home states. It's a full-scale migration of wealth. Multiple events are driving Washington residents to come to Vegas. Seattle recently elected left-wing Mayor Katie Wilson, who campaigned on taxing the wealthiest and millionaires tax. Washington implemented a capital gains tax in 2022, which levies a 7 to 10% charge on specific assets over $278,000, which would mean most people's homes. Most middle-class people now will pay a 7 to 10% tax to those scumbags. Don Lemonhead has hired a former federal prosecutor to cover his court case for being a turd. And Bad Bunny, it went badly. Super Bowl ratings are down tremendously as nobody wanted to watch Bad Bunny's halftime show. The NFL's decision to book Bad Bunny for Super Bowl halftime was almost immediately controversial, and while his performance on Sunday mostly avoided direct political statements, it was widely panned by viewers willing to be honest about his extraordinary lack of vocal talent, explicit choreography, and the fact that his performance was entirely in Spanish. Videos from inside the stadium were, to put it mildly, brutal. A mostly bored audience could see an elaborate set of fake bushes that were not visible and heard singing that could be charitably described as bad and accurately described as unlistenable. Somehow, the managing to be off-key even without ever actually enunciating or changing keys, the performance was seemingly popular mostly on the online left, who made liking music they can't understand part of their political ideology, or those who are already part of Bad Bunny's fan base. Regardless, the NFL surely hoped that bringing in a Spanish language performer would lead to a wider U.S. audience than previous years, as Hispanic viewers would ostensibly be more likely to tune in. Well, the ratings are in. It turns out the NFL was wrong. Super Bowl halftime ratings decline. There are several different ratings now available for the Super Bowl. One source, Samba TV, measured the number of households watching the game. Per their tracking, there are 48.6 million households watching the game. It's a 13% decrease from last year. According to their estimates, 26.5 million households watched the halftime show, a whopping 39% decline from Kendrick Lamar's performance last year. So look at this. There's a minute-by-minute viewership from Super Bowl 60. Reveals interesting audience behavior as the Seattle Seahawks beat. Look at halftime. just plummets. People stop watching entirely. Look at that. In the middle, the halftime, it just dropped. People stop watching it. Yeah, bad money was bad. That's it, folks. Going to wrap it up here. Thanks for being with us. Be sure to hit the like button if you don't mind. Wow, viewership is way down again. Interesting dynamic taking place here. Thank you all for being here. We'll catch you on Ronaldo in just a few minutes. Cheers.